and welcome to the special edition of All Elite Radio. We are less than 24 hours away from AEW Dynasty. Of course, I'm Shawn with my tag team partner, Ashlee. Ashlee, how do you feel about Collision being the go home show here, even though it was pre recorded on Wednesday night?
Not a bad show overall. I think it does lose some of that energy being pre-recorded, as you said, but I think some very good segments and very good matches, and I think a lot of things that help build up, and especially something like the main event, I think certainly helped. Julia Hart versus Mercedes Moné match coming up. Looking forward to a lot of the matches tomorrow night.
Well, we do have a little bit of breaking news as we learned on Collision last night that our guy, Jay White, has been withdrawn from the 2025 Men's Owen Hart Tournament due to a broken wrist. So, Ashlee, our guy cannot get a break, no pun intended.
Nope. And recently seeing news that Juice Robinson is close to getting back into the ring for training for his in-ring return. This is really sucks. These guys have not been healthy and on the same page in quite some time, and it's led to virtually nothing being able to be done with the Bang Bang Gang.
I know they used to be one of the most over groups in AEW, and the crowd always supported them. And they just ran into a series of injuries. First, it was Juice, then it became the Gun Brothers, Jay White, and he just kind of like in a rinse and repeat cycle here now.
Yeah. Hopefully after his surgery, we'll have kind of some more information about a timeline for his return, but hopefully he won't be out too long. We know Juice Robinson had kind of a serious back injury, so it'll be good to see him return, and hopefully, hopefully Jay can make it back in time so we can get something done with this group before I feel like before we run out of opportunities because it's feels like it's been forever since we've been able to get on solid ground with them.
Exactly. So we are going over to the 0 hour. Of course, Tony Khan has to give us another match, literally 24 hours away from AEW Dynasty.
What's
So
the time?
hey, this style. So zero match number one, Top Flight AR Fox versus Nick Wayne and the crew. And it took a little doing here for the crew to convince Nick Wayne to come over to join them. They basically had to play the card like, "Oh, do you have to let your daddy tell you if you can do it?"
Yeah, Nick Wayne coming out to stop AR Fox is no surprise. We've seen their history and how often they've gone back and forth. It'll be very interesting if we see Christian come back soon to see how he feels about this because Nick Wayne has already been kind of pushing back against Christian before Christian was off TV. So it'll be interesting to see if he comes back to see Nick Wayne teaming up with these other two guys who sort of have been playing like Nick Wayne's loyalty to Christian against him.
True. I get a feeling this is going to be the main event of 0 hour, and we may have Father of the Year Christian Cage make a appearance to set his son right.
I hope so. I miss Christian, honestly.
So, Ashley, the other thing we learned about 0 hour is the greatest professional wrestler and rapper alive, Matt Casser, has a open challenge. So, Ashley, who is his opponent?
Mark Briscoe. Um, l- this gimmick is I love it. Like I love everything Max Caster is doing. And I said a few weeks ago, like he's a perfect heel. He continues to be perfect on this heel. And even as he cut his promo tonight, he sort of like broke and laughed a little as he's trying to get the crowd to do the let's go Max chant. And like he knows how ridiculous it is. And it's so funny that it's ridiculous. It's working. The crowd's reacting to it. And it's becoming like quickly the segment I'm almost looking forward to the most every week.
It is really becoming my favorite segment on Collision. And I want to see this guy just keep on losing for like another month and a half. But I get a feeling tomorrow night on 0 hour, we are going to get Anthony Bones to be the person to answer the open challenge. And poor Matt Casser is going to get another loss.
It'll be good to see that too because Anthony Bowens has been sort of getting like a bigger reaction every week as Max Caster comes out, cuts a promo, sort of, you know, derides Anthony Bowens a bit. You've seen the crowd react more and more to it, and I think he'll get a good reaction and coming back to, again, beat up Max Caster, and we can watch him get another beatdown. I think everybody will go home happy after that.
Is this a win-win situation every time you see Matt Caster on his back looking up at the lights?
It's always a great time to see who's gonna come out to beat him up next.
Very true, very true. So we're on to the main lineup for Dynasty, and surprisingly, they are actually doing some quarterfinal matches in both Owen Hart Cup tournaments. And I was hoping we get this match. I just didn't know we were gonna get it so freaking soon. It's Will Ospreay versus Kevin Knight for the men's Owen Hart quarterfinal match one. Now, Kevin Knight is the replacement for our boy Jay White.
And a great replacement. Like, again, we said, it sucks for Jay White being taken out, but Kevin Knight coming in, being a new signee to AEW, kind of already having some really great showings. Teaming up with Will Ospreay this past week and everything, he looks great. So to see him go one on one with Will Ospreay, I think he's going to turn a lot of heads to a lot of the AEW fans who may have been unfamiliar with him.
So I gotta ask you, actually, who is gonna carry the day here? Or do we use some outside interference from the Don Callis family to maybe help whoever takes the L in this match?
That could be an interesting possibility. Like I've said before, unfortunately, Don Callis is great. So, um, pairing him with somebody like a Kevin Knight, that could really be good, and then you could kind of maybe worm that into something a little more long term with Will Ospreay that goes on after the Owen is finished.
Because I get a feeling that we're working our way in the men's Owen tournament to a matchup of Will Ospreay versus Kyle Fletcher again. So that's why I'm feeling that we either get a little bit of a Don Callis running here, or we see Kevin Knight do a great performance, but this comes up oh so short to babyface Will Ospreay.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Like I said, they've had him put on some really great showings. In the two, 3 matches he's had since he's been here. Um, Hoping that we'll see him and Osprey tear it down tomorrow night.
I gotta say, this is my early candidate for match of the night. So we'll move on to the next match we have to talk about. Another quarterfinal match in the men's tournament as Kyle Fletcher gets the draw of Mark Briscoe.
This is this is an interesting one. This is two very different styles.
Well, we saw Kyle Fletcher have to do with the Stone Pitbull on Collision last night. Now he gets somebody who's tough as nails in Mark Briscoe, so not an easy weekend for Kyle Fletcher.
No, no, but he's certainly up to the task. His We've praised him every week. He's looked fantastic every week. He's only getting better and better. Um, this is going to be a good one. Mark Briscoe, it feels like it's been a minute since we've seen him in something a little more high profile, so hopefully we can kind of carry this momentum for him too after the match.
Well, I was wishing he had a better draw because he draws Kyle Fletcher. And I hate to say it, I got a feeling that he's going to eat another L here in this match because I feel like they want to keep Kyle Fletcher strong as they're going towards Will Ospreay versus Kyle Fletcher number 3. If it is AEW All in Texas, why not? But I like to see Mark Briscoe get something out of this besides an L in the first round.
Yeah, but unfortunately, I think you're right, and I think he does take the loss here. Um, it's hard to just not throw all your chips behind Kyle Fletcher right now.
Oh, if you have money lying around somewhere on a Sunday night and you want to make a safe bet, advanced Kyle Fletcher 1 round in this tournament would be probably said safe bet. So we do have a question mark here as we go to the third match. That's the men's Owen Hart Cup qualifying quarterfinal match. Heyman Adam Page has this open slot. Who is the wild card? Who are we going to face Heyman Adam Page with?
Genuinely don't know.
I'm thinking if Juice Robinson is ready to come back, That would be a cool spot to debut a returning Juice Robinson, or maybe there's somebody they got signed and ready to go that we don't know about.
I was gonna say the one person I did think, um, and I could be wrong because I haven't seen any news on him and what he officially has done recently, but um, there were rumblings of Josh Alexander. You're kind of having a big prestigious tournament in honor of a great Canadian. Maybe you debut somebody like him to in that spot.
Oh, Josh Alexander versus Hangman Adam Page would be a match I would love to see. There's somebody surprisingly missing off this card, and it's 3 letters. He goes by 3 letters, MJF?
That would be so good.
I mean, the last time we saw MJF back on Dynamite, he was still trying to work his way into the Hurt Syndicate, and still Bobby Lashley was having none of it.
Plus, that could be a really good. That would be a good like curveball because that would genuinely be a matchup where I don't know who they would put over. Would you put over Hangman considering you kind of have Swerve in the title picture? Would you put MJF over if you're not considering having Swerve become champion? I think it would all depend on I think a little bit might depend on the outcome of that match if they went ahead with it.
True, and what a better way to work MJF back towards the AEW World Title than allowing him to win this tournament by any means necessary and being able to brag about it all summer.
I was gonna say maybe he uses it to try to show the Hurt Syndicate or at least Bobby Lashley like why he deserves that spot. At least even if it's just performative to say the least.
True. Or, hey, why didn't MVP go over to Tony Khan and go like, hey, you have this wild card spot, Shelton Benjamin, Bobby Lashley. Maybe we see one of them do double duty on this pay-per-view.
I can see that. Especially like Shelton Benjamin versus Hangman Adam Page, like sign me up immediately.
I'd be like, take my money, Tony Khan, please. Take my freaking money.
Yep.
So we'll go over to the women's Owen Hart quarterfinal match as we saw, or we'll see Mercedes Moné versus Julia Hart. Now, the main event of Collision was Hardy Cameron, Mercedes Moné versus Athena and Julia Hart. This was a dang good main event. It got me excited for the pay-per-view tonight. And I got a feeling that we're going to see the CEO advance over Julia Hart, even though Julia Hart probably deserves this win over the CEO.
She's had some good showings. I don't think they're gonna give her the win over Mercedes Moné by any means, but she's absolutely shown out and she's looked great since returning from injury. Again, like another one that feels like she hasn't lost a step at all. Um, like you said, the main event was great. It's nice to see the ladies again getting the opportunity to main event a show. Um, and like Athena, like put all the belts on her. Have her and Mercedes fight over all the belts. I don't care. Like, have her be the one to beat Moxley. I don't care at this point.
Well, it's interesting because if you look at the Owen Hart Women's Tournament bracket, Athena and Mercedes Moné cannot meet in the final. They can only meet in the semifinal.
I
So,
I would say I think they might be heading that way. And I love Harley Cameron, but she definitely drew the short straw having to face Athena in the first.
yes. Facing the mini overlord in the first round is not a way to be successful in this tournament whatsoever.
Mhm.
So we'll move on to our first of many title matches on this pay-per-view, as it's the AEW Trios titles match, as we have rated FTR, kind of somewhat back on the same page as we left Collision last night, versus the Death Riders.
Yeah. Cope and Dax come out to save cash during a the scuffle there with the Death Riders. They don't get too far. They get beat down too. So I mean, they do help Dax up eventually after he gets beaten up. They hug it out. I still feel like we could be headed for some implosion with them though.
Honestly, I feel like we're going to see the implosion tonight on the pay-per-view, and
Yeah.
the implosion of FTR will cost rated FTR the opportunity for these trios titles, and the Death Riders will retain their trios championships. I'll have a different opinion about the world title later on in the show, but for right now, Death Riders are 1-0 on the evening.
Yeah, I agree. Um, Not exactly the hugest fan of it either. I feel like we should be doing more with these titles. They don't I don't know. They don't really feel like part of much of anything. It doesn't even feel like they're not really even mentioned much. It's like like it feels like they're only mentioned as the trios champions when a trios titles match come up.
Exactly. What does it do for the Death Riders to have these trios championships? Because you hardly ever see them carrying them out to the ring with John Moxley.
Right. I they're following like his example, I guess, per se with the, Moxley not carrying out the world title. But it does feel weird to have essentially 4 championships that you have on your show not being featured at all, and now for months.
True, because honestly, these trio titles, if you had them in the 0 hour with that match between AR Fox Top Flight versus Nick Wayne and the Crew, that would be an interesting AEW Trios title match.
Yeah, I like you said, like, they're not doing anything specifically in the trios division, and I guess that's why it doesn't feel great. Even tonight, we saw Cash Wheeler versus Peck in a one-on-one match. More often than not, we're getting them in singles competition, maybe in a tag match here and there, and least often trios matches. So to have them as the trios champions sort of feels anticlimactic at the moment.
I agree with you, Ashley. So the next title match we're going to be talking about is the AEW Tag Team title match. It's our team, the Hurt Syndicate. They hurt people versus Big Bill and Brian Keith for the Learning Tree. Ashley, is this the evening that we finally get the start of the Big Bill babyface run?
I hope. I hope, please. um, as long as we can start to move them away from Jericho, Big Bill away from Jericho, everybody and anybody away from Jericho. I don't know. I hope they go that route tonight. I think Big Bill, uh, s- barring just his verbal spat with MVP last week, where I think he got obliterated, I think has been a standout, and I think he's very over with the crowd, and I think they have to pursue this.
I think they have to. And if there's another match I would bet a large sum of money on, it would be this match and the Hurt Syndicate retaining their AEW Tag Team titles.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see Lashley and Shelton losing these belts for a little bit yet.
Definitely. I don't think this is the team that you let the Hurt Syndicate lose to. I feel like the Hurt Syndicate has more business to do, more people to hurt, and we're just here for the ride.
It's gonna be a
So we'll move on to the AEW International title match. It's a three-way match between Kenny Omega, Speedball Mike Bailey, and Ricochet. Ashley, does Ricochet take the L here? Because this feels like a loss for Ricochet. Because I don't think they want to give that L to Speedball Mike Bailey, and Kenny Omega only had this title for a couple months now.
Yeah, I do think it is going to play out that way. We saw like the tensions between Ricochet and Speedball kind of boil over a little bit on Collision. And I think they will eventually cost each other during the match, whether that's Ricochet taking out Mike Bailey, and then Kenny Omega swooping in and catching Ricochet off guard. But like you said, I think he's kind of in this to take the pin, but he is absolutely going to show out.
And this is going to be another contender for match of the night for me because I feel like these three gentlemen are going to go balls to the wall.
Yeah, and I think AEW has found a little bit of a groove when they've done these multi-man matches. I think they've done some good pacing with them.
So we'll move over to the TNT Championship match. It's Daniel Garcia versus Adam Cole, baby. And it's no time limit, no seconds at ringside. So do we finally get Adam Cole with a singles championship in AEW?
If you would have asked me the other day, I would have said yes. I think they did a good job with this promo on Collision that they had, this sit down back and forth, making it feel like Danielle Garcia, should win. I think because of the way that happened, I do think Adam Cole is going to win, but I do think this is where we see maybe some of the older Adam Cole start to resurface.
So I want to ask you, do you see the Undisputed Kingdom turn back heel here and we see them cheat to win and we get heel Adam Cole going forward?
I think we're gonna start down that road. I don't know if we'll go right out, full 180 for Adam Cole right off the bat, but I do think he is going to turn back to being a heel.
I do. I got a feeling that they need it. I mean, this title run, we already talked about Dan Garcia's TNT title run was not the greatest title run in TNT title history. No fault to Daniel Garcia. I feel like we needed to have this title on Adam Cole, let Daniel Garcia go off to do something else, and wrap him back around to maybe the Continental or the International title.
Yeah, um, like you said, kind of an underwhelming run, but mostly a run marred by, like, tag matches and it sounds crazy to say, like, kind of marred by the Continental Classic because he went through the whole tournament without defending the championship, really. Um, I think they do a bit of a reset with Adam Cole, put the title on him, and like you said, you can always loop him back around. He's usually a candidate in the Continental Classic, so I think maybe having him and Brody King kind of battle it out for King of the Continental Classic, as they've both been multiple year competitors, would be great.
Very true. And I mean, granted, Daniel Garcia can never have a bad match, and this would be another match of the night contender here.
Oh, yeah. This is gonna be a good one. I think Adam Cole is I think he's gonna have a good showing in this match.
Okay, so we're moving on to the ROH World Title match. It's title versus mask, and this is your match of the night, Ashley. This is the one you cannot miss.
I know, this is the one. Um, a match that I hope Bandito wins. I hope the stipulation makes it that Bandito wins. Um, just need Chris Jericho off my TV for a while. Like, just an extended period of time.
Well, I think the stipulation in this match really throws it to one way. It needs to be Bambino beating Chris Jericho to get the ROH title, and we get to see Chris Jericho just implode with the learning tree, and we spin him off to Chris Jericho versus Big Bill in some kind of feud that totally destroys the learning tree.
Have Gravity come help his brother. There's reason there. You've had Gravity on Ring of Honor. It's not the most far fetched thing. Have Gravity come out and help him. You've already got the rest of the learning tree tied up, tonight in a match. So give Chris Jericho a taste of his own medicine.
Very true. So we'll go over to the AEW Women's World Title match. It's timeless Tony Storm versus Megan Vane. So my question to you, Ashley, are we taking the title off of Tony Storm and giving it to Megan Vane?
I'm booking. I'm never doing. Tony Storm is my forever champion. Um, I don't think so. I think Megan. I think this is something meant to put Megan Bain on the map. I think she's gonna have a great showing. Um, I think Tony Storm though, I think people are just too into this character right now for her to drop this title so soon.
Okay, so I'm thinking that we're going to see Penelope Ford cost Megan Vane here to prolong this feud just a bit longer. Like you said, I feel like this is just a showcase for Megan Vane, and we need a way to boot this another pay per view. So why not have the sidekick to Megan Vane come down, try to help her win the match? It costs her the match, and we go on to Double or Nothing.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely you could do something like that. Um, it's nice to see Penelope being involved in this scene, so build her up and get her a match on the next pay-per-view as well.
So we have made it down to the AEW World Title match. It's John Moxley versus Swerve Strickland, and we left Dynamite with Swerve Strickland getting beat down yet again. But before that, did I just see Hangman Adam Page and Swerve Strickland kind of make up?
I wouldn't go that far. Um, they definitely had a moment, that's for sure. And I know the take on the Death Rider stuff has been very lukewarm. But I think a lot of people have been very happy with the Swerve Strickland versus John Moxley build. Um, I'm very excited, and I think Wednesday night was like a great like 1-2 of kind of leaving me wondering like who do I actually think will be the champion? Because last week we talked about it, and I would have bet money that John Moxley was going to win this title. I didn't really feel like it was Swerve's time right this second, but the back and forth with Hangman, then the immediate uh you know post match, like beat down stuff with the Death Riders and stuff left me really wondering that they might pull the trigger with Swerve. If you're planning to rerun Hangman versus Swerve, maybe you do something with this and Hangman tries to help out Swerve tomorrow night.
See, last week I was thinking Heyman and Page would come down here and interfere on the behalf of the Death Riders to guarantee Swordsman would never carry that AEW World Title again. Then we backtracked to Dynamite and the little argument they had, like, "You broke in my house. You burned my house down. You deserve it." And Swordsman goes, "I know." And you just see Heyman and Page go like, "What?" And Swordsman goes like, "I know." And there's this moment where you see an epiphany in Hangman Adam Page, and he's so annoyed that Swerve finally made a gesture towards an olive branch or something, maybe, and he just storms off.
Yeah, he definitely stormed off angrily away from his feelings. Um, that it was so good. That's that was a great segment, and it's crazy to see, like, these 2 guys have done some of the worst things to each other. Swerve Strickland did some terrible things even before his, feud with Hangman, with Darby, with Sting and everything like that, and it's so cool to see this side of him and to see, like, this side of him showcased like this where he's being vulnerable and he's like, "Yeah, I messed up. Like, I messed up." It's nice to see them kind of show Swerve knows that Hangman didn't do anything wrong.
So I got a feeling that Swerve is going to win your AEW World Title tonight at Dynasty with a little help from Heyman Adam Page, and it may be inadvertent help. Then we get to see Heyman Adam Page be even more annoyed with himself as he's the one to yet again help Swerve get the title.
Yeah, and then like I said, you got him in this tournament. I don't know if you pull the trigger. We've had unexpected winners in the Owen before, but if you have Swerve win, I think you have Hangman win the Owen. You could boot Hangman and versus Swerve. You have that as your main event. That's gonna move tickets for AEW right now.
That would be a nice main event for All in Texas, and that would be a about where it should be if we're going back to revisit the feud between Swerve and Heyman and Page. And somehow, some way, we need to end the chapter of the Death Riders. I'm sorry, I'm just tired of the Death Riders. It was a nice concept at the beginning, but I feel like they lost the plot of the story halfway through it. So let's just go ahead and wipe the slate clean. Let's go back to Strowson as our AEW World Champion.
Yeah, the Death Rider stuff has certainly been a roller coaster. It started off really strong, kind of lost some luster, sort of found its way again, fell back down really hard again. Been a little interesting again over the past couple of weeks, but ultimately, I think people are kind of tired of the we're interested in this, but we're not interested in this, kind of back and forth.
Well, if I had Will Smith come on my screen with a little virtualizer to wipe my memory of the last 4 months of this, I would be perfectly happy. Okay, let me tell you.
No, understood. It has been a very divisive storyline.
Well, that has been. Well, let's do this. Ashley, how do you feel about the build to AEW Dynasty? Do you think the build was strong and we're going to have a strong pay per view? Or are we in for another disappointing main event?
No, I think we should be on track for a better main event, if only because of the in-ring competition. That's no slight to Copeland or anything. I just think Swerve is kind of on a different level right now. Um, I do think they've done a good job building almost every single match on this card. I there's a few here and there that, i.e. Chris Jericho and stuff that, could have been either done on a different show or, somewhere else along the line, but I'm really looking forward to the main event. The women's matches are gonna be a highlight, I'm sure of it, and the tournament stuff should be great.
Yes, this should be a great AEW pay per view coming up. This has been your AEW Dynasty preview show here on All Elite Radio, but we promised a surprise for everybody, an announcement you would say about the future of the show. So allow me announcement in 3, 2, 1.
It's a dynamite drop, baby. You know the names. It's Ashlee and Shawn. The verbal bang bang gang, guns up. All Elite takes, no filler hitting you. Harder than a blade runner. You want heat, they deliver every week. It's a thriller, it's a dynamite drop. Powered by the hub, and that's undisputed.
Yes, Ashley, we have officially become a member of the Hub. Now, what is the Hub? It's a collection of wrestling podcasts. You have your WWE Raw review show, Draw Straws Raw with Eric B and Randy C every Tuesday morning. You have Huge Pop, Donnie and Jimmy on Wednesday evening, covering the week in wrestling. Then you have Saturday mornings normally, your Smack Daddies, Grave Fathom, Brad the Dad. They cover your WWE SmackDown, and each and every Friday morning, you get your kick off your weekend with Shawn and Ashley as we give you the Dynamite Drop, your week in AEW review show right here on the Hub. So, Ashley, how do you feel about joining the Hub?
This is very cool. I'm very excited to kind of be able to get to talk about AEW even more, first of all, and do so in kind of like a new area. Hopefully, maybe some people who aren't too familiar with AEW will become a little more interested.
And we also got a little surprise too, because we have a special premiere edition of the Dynamite Drop dropping Tuesday morning. It's a double shot on the Hub, as you will have the Raw review show, Draw Sauce Raw, with Randy C and Eric B. And you will have us reviewing AEW Dynasty right here on the Dynamite Drop. Guns up, everybody. Guns up. So, Ashley, where can we find you on the Super Information Super Highway?
Um, I am always keeping along with the live shows on Blue Sky, and it's at groovyash.bsky.social.
And you can follow the new show, The Dynamite Drop, on Twitter, Instagram, and our YouTube channel is all The Dynamite Drop. Do us a favor, follow all the new socials, and we'll see you right here Tuesday morning on the Hub. Until then, enjoy your weekend of professional wrestling.